Welcome to Genre Jam, the show where each guest brings their 5 essential tracks to the table and we talk about them. Alrighty, so this is take 2 of this episode. We lost the first one. A computer crashed, and now we are here. We're doing it again. Hopefully, with the benefit of hindsight, we can make this episode just a little bit better than it was the first go around. Part of me doubts that, though, because it was pretty good already. But
Yep.
So, why don't we introduce ourselves for those who don't know? I'm Noah.
I am Caleb.
Hi, Caleb.
And I'm Kaylee.
Hi, Kaylee. So, if the little intro there wasn't evidence enough, this show, we talk about music, and we are going to talk about specifically 5 tracks, 5 essential tracks from our guest of the day. We're going to talk about the cultural context, we're going to talk about the impact on music history, and most importantly, we're going to talk about our opinions on them. This episode, the host, spoiler alert, is me. I'm the host today. I'm the host and the guest, which is fun. So, my top 5, my track list, this is going to go from number 5 being the worst of the best. Massive air quotations around worst. This is my top 5. So 5 is the worst and 1 is the best. And if you're going to notice that a lot of these tracks are of a similar kind. I like that 60s pop and rock stuff quite a lot. I've grown up liking this stuff. It's weird because my parents didn't like it. Like, my dad loves gangster rap from the 90s.
Oh, wow.
It's gangster rap.
He loves He is like a
wild.
diehard NWA fan. Whitest man on earth. But I found this music at a certain time in my life, and I just stuck to it like a moth to a flame. And I guess there's no better way to start this episode than my number 5, which is Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. This was on the album Beggar's Banquet in 1968. This is the first song I really fell in love with. You guys have had those, right? The songs where you listen to them the first time and you just can't stop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the rest of your day. It's just that song. That song was like this for me for 4 years.
For years.
I've waned off it. There was a point in time where I counted every day how many times I listened to the song. It's usually 4. It's waned a little bit
Yeah.
because I've discovered so much other music, but it still holds a special place in my empty heart, you know. But the song, if it wasn't evident enough, is a ballad about the devil, and specifically how he has played a role in all of mankind's worst moments, which is a very interesting idea for a song. You guys listen to the song. What did you think?
I thought had a very captivating narrative.
It did.
It had evil and good all in one, and it flowed really nicely. I liked it.
Exactly. And it portrays kind of a moral gray area with the devil and with people, especially towards the end of the song. It's kind of like maybe we kind of are the cause of all of this stuff, aren't we? Like, all of the bad things that have ever happened. It's not some divine force in the sky. It's us. It's our ignorance. And I think it's great because the song tells a really coherent story. You don't need to extrapolate anything. You don't need to really take a guess, like, oh, I wonder what that meant. You know, it's very laid out. It's in the open. You know what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the lyrics are great. The what is it? The instrumentation.
Oh, the instrumentation.
Sorry, yep, there we go. The instrumentation is great too, because there's a lot of there's a really great guitar solo by Keith Richards, and there's I think there's maracas and stuff in there too. And it's a long song. It's 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think it's very emblematic of the time it was made in, which was 1968. So it was Western society it was kind of enveloped in the Vietnam War at that time, and this song is one of those that's kind of intrinsically tied to that conflict. You watch a lot of movies about the war, and there's going to be a Stone song in there somewhere, or there's going to be a CCR song. It's one of the two. And this song I know is in Tropic Thunder, which is a great movie, weird movie, but it's a great one. But yeah, it's emblematic of that era. And my favorite fun fact, I forgot about this one.
Oh, okay.
What is this?
You guys already know because we already did this once.
Oh, I've forgotten.
But you did? Great. Okay, cool. Because in the song, they mention the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, they mentioned JFK's assassination. When the Stones were writing the song, JFK's brother, Bobby, was also shot and killed in the lobby of a hotel. So then the song, they went back and fixed it. So now they mention who shot the Kennedys. Kennedys, plural. So they had to retcon the song halfway through. They're like, oh, crap.
Like, I just gotta insert something into this line.
Things
here,
were
and
getting
then-
so bad at the time, I had to like just keep rewriting it as they went. It's like, oh, shit just keeps coming, doesn't it?
Just these historical things keep happening.
I know, I hate history sometimes. It can be a bitch. But that's this song. I think that's a good place to wrap it up with that one. Let's move on to number 4, which is Surf's Up by the Beach Boys. This is probably the most obscure song I chose for this list. And it's not the only Beach Boys song either. But I think it's an ethereal song. It's one of those songs for me that crafts a very specific image. And for me, it's almost just the album cover. It's the album cover of the album This Is On, which is also called Surf's Up, is very dark, very moody. I don't think it quite as moody. I don't think it quite as moody as the actual album art, my perception of it, but it's very almost introspective. And there's a lot of history behind this song, because I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Beach Boys history. Probably, I wouldn't imagine that familiar.
No, not very.
I don't mean to
Not
assume,
very.
but I don't
My
imagine.
mom has mentioned it once or twice.
Okay, cool.
So.
There we
Okay.
go. Because back in the 60s, there was an album, I'll mention it later, called Pet Sounds, that came out in 66. And it was revolutionary for the band. Because what do you think when you think of the Beach Boys? First thing.
The beach.
The beach. That's what you think of. You think of, poppy, oh, yeah, let's go down to the beach, California. Yeah. That sounds great. But during the mid-'60s, there was a lot of groups like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. They kind of felt the need to experiment. So they made Pet Sounds, which is it's a wild album. It's very bizarre, very first of its kind. And then Brian Wilson, the creative lead of the Beach Boys, he decided he wanted to do a sequel album called Smile. It's one of the most infamous canceled albums in history, if not the most. And it never got off the ground. A lot of stuff was recorded over a few years, but I love the guy, but he's a little crazy. He's dealt with some struggles, and the band kind of started fragmenting because they didn't really know which direction to take it. Are we going to do the weird experimental stuff, or are we going to do the same stuff that's worked and proven reliable? And they kind of stayed with the same thing. And I think that's the worst part of the whole Beach Boys story, is that they stayed stagnant and they didn't innovate because they didn't see it as profitable. They were told it wasn't profitable to innovate. And I think they're still known as a great band, but they're not quite at the same level of their peers like the Beatles, because they stayed in the same place. Like today, they still tour, but they're like a legacy act. You don't go to be like, oh yeah, I
Still
can't wait to
tour.
see what
Jesus.
new music they come up with.
Yeah.
What'd you
How
say?
old are they now?
Oh, in their 80s, I think. Brian Wilson's
gosh.
82. I think Brian Wilson's like the same age as Paul McCartney. I think like 82.
82.
He doesn't do it as much anymore, Brian Wilson, because he doesn't really get along with the other guys. But
I was going to
Yep.
say, I'm surprised they've stayed together and toured for that long, because I find most bands
yeah,
usually
they're
separate.
Yeah, especially
and
at like
do
the age
solos.
of 82.
no,
Yeah,
it's
that's crazy.
it's very different now. Their
Yeah.
lineup, they have John Stamos from like Full House is there sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think the song Surfs Up and like is a reminder of that Smile album and just the lost potential. I still think the song itself is great, and it would have closed side one of that Smile album. Luckily, that album, it has been recreated. I think in 2011, they released what essentially would have been Smile. So they released a box set. And then in 2004, Brian Wilson did his own rendition of the album. So you can still get a sense of what it would have been like. It was just a cacophony of noise. It is very odd from a modern perspective. Songs like Surf's Up are still hold up, but some songs are just noise, like actually just noises.
Interesting.
And
Very
I'm a huge
interesting.
Beach Boys fan. Some of that stuff I can't lie. I'm like, I can't listen to just a fire engine's siren for 3 minutes. Like it's just
Yeah.
It's not for me.
that's How most
is-
people would
yeah.
be, you think.
this song is
Yeah.
great though, and I think I feel like I didn't even talk about the song that much, but just listen to it and sit on your bed and stare at the ceiling while listening to this in headphones, and you'll get what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try that later.
You should, yeah.
Try
I
it tonight.
highly recommended. Okay, I guess we can probably move on to number 3 on the list, and that is My Sweet Lord by George Harrison of the Beatles. This was released in 1970 in the album All Things Must Pass. All Things Must Pass is a fantastic album. I recommend it to just anyone. There's a lot of variety in there, but it's all of a pretty similar quality. There's some stupid songs because it's like 3 or 4 vinyls. Like it is huge. It is a massive album to even just to listen to it. It's going to take a while. You got to almost set aside some time. It's like, okay, it's all things must pass time now. But My Sweet Lord is definitely, I think, the most iconic song from the album. You've heard it in movies before, like no doubt. You might not be able to name one off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You've heard it though.
I've definitely heard
Yeah.
it in movies.
I know Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was in there. And even just recently, a few months ago or weeks ago, the show Top Gear, the car guys, I think they used the song in their final episode because it's just that emotional, the song.
Oh, yes.
It's about religion, if you couldn't guess by the title. But I'm a staunch atheist. I can't lie. But even I love the song. I love it because it appeals to. It's such just a well done song. You don't have to be religious. It has a beautiful melody. There's a choir in the background. The guitar is great on this whole record, the whole album. George Harrison and his posse, just the instrumentation's fantastic. But I think he finds a really interesting way of blending different religions into one song, because this isn't just like a Christian pride song.
Yeah.
It is, in the end especially, there's chants from different religions. There's Hare Krishna, because George Harrison was very tied to Indian culture. He loved it. And he brought it kind of to the center stage in the 60s. But it's interesting to see a song that has respect for all religions. It's not one size fits all. It is meant for everyone. It doesn't matter who you pray to.
Mm-hmm.
If that gives you joy in your heart, that's all that matters. And I think that's such a noble message,
Yeah.
especially for the time and for like a Christian man, because I believe he was Christian as far as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But for that to be the message and him just being accepting of other people, I think it's brave, and it was very ahead of its time. And it's not even the only song on the album that's like that. There's another song called "Awaiting on You All," which is also very religious, but it strikes a nice balance because it does mention Jesus more. So it sounds a little more preachy, but it's still, like, even again for an atheist like me, oh my God, it's such a great song.
Yeah.
Such a great song. It's like my number 6 maybe on this list. If I'm not lying.
I'd say like songs like that are under the topic of more religious, you'd say. Like especially that song, My Sweet Lord. I think it's about connection a lot and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
love and all that. So
Yeah.
it digs deeper than just
the surface
My Sweet
level.
Lord, you know?
Exactly. And I think that even just the fact that it's in so many different films, TV shows, movies and films are the same thing. And it's never, as far as I know, it's usually not used in a religious context. It's just used in a joyous, every time it's just about pure joy. And I think that's a true testament to I think George Harrison's the most underrated Beatle. I gotta admit, I gotta say it. I think he's my favorite. But we'll talk more about the Beatles in a bit, because now we're moving back to the Beach Boys with song number 2, and that's God Only Knows from Pet Sounds, 1966. So we mentioned the record a little bit.
Pet Sounds now? Nice.
I was actually buying a copy of Pet Sounds the other day at London Drugs, and the lady at the cash register asked me, "Is this just Pet Sounds? Is this animals?" And I had to explain, oh God, I don't even, like, what do you even say in that case? Like, she was old too. I'm like, you didn't grow up with this stuff, I guess.
Come on, you should know this.
I know, but she didn't, and so I had to stand there and explain it. But yeah, spoiler alert, God Only Knows is not about, like, cats. There's no dog sounds in the song, unfortunately.
Unfortunate.
If that's your kind of thing, I'm sorry to disappoint. But it is one of those songs that every time it makes me cry.
Oh.
It does. Even watching, like, the music video they released a few years ago, it makes me cry. And it makes Paul McCartney cry, apparently. It's his favorite song.
There we go.
It's so...
I think you should just, like, become Paul McCartney.
I wish I was Paul McCartney. I really wish I was, but I don't think I have any musical talent, unfortunately. My band is not selling out any venues anytime soon. But God Only Knows is the lyrics are so simple, but so effective. It's not like the deepest song in the world, but it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just perfect. It's a perfect song.
Yeah, it's almost like angelic, almost.
It is that's a good word to describe it, is angelic. And it uses...
It's very, like, light, like, a little swayy,
yeah,
you know?
I know, and there's, like, a break where there's some instrumentation and stuff, and I think there's sleigh bells in the back, which is kind of a Beach Boys trademark, is they use a lot of kind of unorthodox things like that. But I think the song, just, again, the simplicity, but the just the way it's done, it's so perfect. Like, even just the chorus, God only knows what I'd be without you, if you should ever leave me. life would go on, believe me. Like that kind of, it's so simple, but I always try to write music. I can't write like this.
Oh.
I can't get it to sound as beautiful as this without it sounding contrived and weird. It's so simple yet so effective, and it's something I cannot do. I cannot replicate. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe people like me weren't meant to make music. Maybe, yeah, who knows? But I find the song in its simplicity just be its greatest asset. And yeah, I'd say a perfect song. I don't think there's anything no cover of this song would ever match the
It
original.
was a beautiful song. I gotta add that. It was just so nice to listen to.
Yeah.
And
It's. Are you listening to it right now, Caleb?
got me in my feels.
Yeah. Even just
all the music in the background. And
it's it
just puts it all together so
Exactly.
beautifully. And
the thing about that album, Pet Sounds, is like a lot of the songs, they're on the surface sound kind of simple, but then when you listen to it, more, it's like there are so many layers going on here. Especially like Good Vibrations, like you guys know that song, like I'm picking up good vibrations.
Yeah.
That song, I think that was on Pet Sounds. I might be confusing that with another song. We'll see that later. We'll reference check. No, I think it was another different. It was a different song I'm thinking of. But there's a lot of layers to it. It's like a carnival of sound, and you kind of have to take a second to really take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time to get to number one. And I cheated with this one. I cheated a lot.
You really did cheat with this one.
I cheated to an unfathomable level because this is not one song.
You have to explain this all.
Yeah. This is like 8 songs. I think it's 8.
I think it's 10, actually.
10 songs.
Because I looked it up earlier.
Dear God.
10.
16 minutes?
It's 16 minutes, give or take, fully through. And this is the Abbey Road medley on the album Abbey Road by the Beatles. I probably could have added more Beatles songs to this list, but, I wanted to give the
Too
other
many,
bands.
variety.
I wanted to give a little
so
variety.
much to
I already
choose
added
from.
I know, I already added 2 Beach Boys. I'm like, okay, I'll stick with just one for the Beatles, their best work. And I think it's the medley. It was mostly Paul McCartney that wrote and did this whole thing, but yeah, it's an undertaking to listen to, but in a good way, because there's a lot going on here. But it's nice because there are still motifs that continue along the entire 16 minutes. Every track, there's something that relates back to another one. Like there's the first track is called "You Never Give Me Your Money," and the motif from that song, the chorus repeats at the end in another song, and there's a character in the song called Mean Mr. Mustard. Yep.
Quite the name.
It is indeed.
Mr. Mustard.
It's based off a real guy, too, which is the craziest part. There was a real man in Liverpool sometime in the 60s named fucking Mr. Mustard.
I would have loved to
Rolls
meet
off
that
your
man.
tongue
too.
nicely.
Mr.
Mustard.
But his sister, referenced in that song, Pam, is the subject of the next song, Polythene Pam. Don't question it. Don't question it. But
questioning already.
Every song has like a bit that I just find to be like stellar. Like the whole thing together is, I think, their best work. But even just individually, I think like even in the song Polythene Pan, there's a great guitar riff that I think is highly underrated because not a lot of people talk about it. And then there's a song called Sun King. It's the second song on the album. And it is, I've used this word already, but ethereal. It's still a good word to describe it because it feels like I'm floating through like a different dimension. Mm-hmm. And they use beautiful fake Spanish in the song.
Fake Spanish.
Paul McCartney, apparently, they learned Spanish in grade school. Not that well, though. So they just kind of started just saying gibberish that loosely
whatever sounds good.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. It did sound good.
It did.
Like
it's a loose translation too because it does translate into English very loosely. But so there is some Spanish hidden deep
and
down
you'll
there.
Translate it and be like, oh, that's what he's saying.
I think it's just like
it's probably just
something about love.
Yeah,
of course,
something
about
love.
All you need is love. But yeah, in the album, just there's so many heavy hitters on this one. But I don't think it's really. I have a hard time listening to it separately, all the songs separately, because they flow so well into each other. Some of them, if you listen to them separately, it just ends, just abruptly ends.
Oh.
And
leaves you wanting more, and then
it never
what
comes.
This song
exactly, and
does.
There's a mix of it that you guys listen to on Spotify. It was part of the 50th or the 60th anniversary Abbey Road remaster they did in 2019, and it is the whole thing compiled into one song, about 16 minutes. do not listen to that version. That version sucks.
What, the one we listened
one
to?
The one you
put
listen
on
to?
your playlist?
I'm sorry. I only put it on there so I could cheat and have this as one song, but in reality, it is terrible because they mix up the order of the songs for some reason. There's a hidden track at the end called Your Majesty. It's one of the first hidden tracks in music. It was on the album cover. It was removed. So you didn't know what was coming until you actually got the thing, spun it. 30 seconds after the end comes, there it is. On the stupid remix thing they did, they slotted it in the middle of two songs, and it sounds like crap.
Yeah, it didn't really flow that nicely. I need to listen to the right thing.
The whole thing. It disrupts the entire, like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, the whole thing is thrown off. And even the first song, You Never Give Me Your Money, there's like these weird, like, I think it's like a piano bit that John Lennon did that's just removed from the song. I gotta be honest, I didn't care for the original song's piano bit. I think it sounds kind of chintzy and weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it just feels weird. Like, why did you remove that?
Yeah, when you cut things out like that,
why did you remove
it doesn't
that?
flow.
No, it feels weird. I'm like, I know what the
awkward.
song sounds like. Why is the remaster? The last song on this medley called The End, I think is the best song. On the mix you guys listened to, there's no lyrics. In the actual song, there are lyrics. And it's one of the best, because this is the last song that the Beatles did. There was one album released after Abbey Road of pre-recorded material. Abbey Road was the last album the Beatles made. And the last line they ever sung was, "And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make." Which is such a
great
such
finale.
a beautiful
Like-
ending. I mean, besides the one hidden track at the end that kind of spoils the ending. But I think The End is the best song on the album. I think it's better than The End by The Doors. I know everyone likes that version, that song called The End, better. But this is like nice, it's sweet, it's got a great guitar solo. It's got one of Ringo Starr's only drum solos. Somehow. He just never did those, I guess, but
Well, it was the end. He had to.
he had to pull up all stuff. Apparently he really didn't want to. He's like, "Oh guys, please don't make me do it." But they made him do the drum solo, and it's great. I feel bad. Ringo gets crapped on so much because he's such a good rhythm drummer. He knows exactly when to drum and not overdo it. A lot of drummers just start smashing, just start going. He just knows, this is the rhythm we need. Might be minimalistic. Who cares? This is what the song calls for. Ringo tangent aside, I think that is about all I have to say. I think I rambled quite a bit, but I think it's a lot of these albums. I have very interesting tastes in music, and I always think of myself like, I'm not like the other guys. I listen to the cool shit.
I listen to cool music.
I listen to the old school stuff,
Look at me.
which I feel stupid because it's like it's fucking childish. It's like everyone has their own taste.
Yeah, I mean, quite a few of these songs I did want to mention. They really reminded me of like my dad. This is same sort of vibe. All these songs, I'm like, oh yeah, I listen to these when I'm in the car with him. Like
He's got taste.
he's working in the garage and.
Listen to this kind of stuff.
It just reminded me of my dad right as I listened to the first song.
But I feel like a lot of people in like my generation or our generation would be like, "Oh, you're such just pretentious." It's like because deep down there is a part of me that not even deep down. It's like pretty surface level. That's like I don't like modern music that much. I don't find a lot of modern pop music very good. I don't find it very innovative. This stuff I find the part of it I like is that I can't find another song that sounds like it. When I listen to like God Only Knows or Sympathy for the Devil, I can't just go and listen to another song that I think sounds comparable.
It's unique.
Exactly. And I think that has kind of been lost a little bit. Because I think a lot of...
Yeah. That's when rock definitely
I think a lot of
peaked.
Modern pop and rock, it just kind of...
Hasn't been the same.
Yeah, it's settled and it kind of just, it's like we know what sells now. We don't need to figure out what's going to be marketable because like back in the day, they had to figure all this stuff out as they were going. They're like, oh God, this is a brand new thing. It started in the 50s. But I think I'm sad because I think it's grown a little dull, but that's just
it's
me.
grown stagnant.
It
almost.
has, and
everything's just sort of become the same.
Yeah, but there are still great songs out there. A lot of people just say, "Oh, all modern music's bad." No, but I think a lot of the stuff that gets really popular and commercially successful, I don't see any spark in there.
Yeah, and it's all overplayed, and
it is
like, oh, this song again, like.
Yeah, why can't they overplay "My Sweet Lord"?
Exactly.
Overplay it till you get sick of it.
Oh God, actually, never mind. Scratch it. But I think that's about all for this episode. Thank you for coming and watching. We hope you tune in next time for some more interesting music conversations. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. I think I already said that. I think I said that. You know what? That's fine.
That's fine.
I hope you enjoyed this episode double the amount that I hope you got just a lot of joy out of this.
We just thoroughly enjoyed
Yeah,
Yeah,
this.
I was gonna say, I
oozing
think
with
you
joy.
tripled it.
Oozing with joy.
I think I should stop talking
All
now.
right.
I think that was great.
Goodbye.
Alrighty. See you next time.
See you later.